Hey, it's Hannah, and I wanted to talk today about yoga prop alternatives. So what I've got here is essentially like a full yoga setup, what you would use in a lot of classes in studio or what you might be asked to use for a lot of online classes. So first things first, let's talk about a yoga mat. So this is like a traditional yoga mat. Now, if you don't have a yoga mat at home, you can use a few different things. It depends on the kind of practice that you're doing, but often just a towel or a folded blanket on the ground is perfect. For restorative classes, you might even be able to get away with using your bed. I've got a few practices you can do from bed. But of course, like nothing standing if you're on a bed, use common sense. But generally, we use yoga mats for a little bit of cushioning between your body and the floor. And they tend to be a little bit grippy and sticky too to help you stop from sliding. So whatever you've got in place of that, another kind of exercise mat can work as well. Next, kind of most common prop is blocks. Now these tend to be in a lot of practices. We use them to bring the floor closer to us. So we've got something sturdy and heavy that we can press not all of the body weight into, but most of it. So you might sit on a block to lift your hips up off the floor so that it's more comfortable to sit. You might put your hand on a block in a lunge or something to bring the ground closer so you can feel stable. So depending on what you're using the prop for, you can use a few other things for this. You could use a couple of books, you could use soup cans, you could use a shoebox filled with books so that it doesn't, that's one of my favorites actually, it won't move around and it stays nice and sturdy and strong. You could use Tupperware containers, you could use pillows. It just depends on what you're needing it for. So if you're gonna sit on it, obviously you're gonna want something stronger like books or a shoebox filled with books. If you're doing, let's say, butterfly and you just need something for your knees to gently rest on, pillows is great, Tupperware containers is great. I've seen people use pots flipped over, whatever you want for that. Okay, and the next prop is a blanket. This is a fancy yoga blanket. You don't need this. You just need a blanket. Generally, we use this either to keep us warm in the practice or for a little bit of cushioning under our heads or under our knees if we're doing like a kneeling position or hands and knees. Occasionally in a restorative class, you might use this as a gentle weight over your body, maybe over your legs, your chest, your abdomen. The good news is you probably have a blanket at home. And if you don't, use a towel. It's the exact same thing. You can see the material here. It's like a cotton weave, nothing extraordinary. Just, a lot of studios will just use like a fleecy blanket, they're quite inexpensive. But really any blanket or towel that you've got is perfect. The next one is a strap. So this is a yoga strap. I think I had a belt like this in 2004, but it had little spikes on it. Generally, in most classes, you're just going to be using a strap to maybe put your leg in so that you can reach for your foot with your hands if they don't quite reach. Now, you could use anything in place of this, any long piece of fabric, scarves, belts, the tie from your house coat. I've used an extra pair of leggings before, that works. If you have a resistance band, generally we don't want something super stretchy, but it can work in a pinch. And there is that little buckle on the end. Occasionally, usually just in a restorative or maybe an Iyengar class, you'd be asked to actually turn it into a loop. And for that, you might need like more of a belt or one of these with the little things at the end. But you can definitely get away with just a scarf or even tying a scarf if you need to. Again, kind of look at the teacher and what they're doing and use common sense and think about what they would use, what they're asking the prop to be used for, and just make that informed decision for yourself. So the next one, and actually the final one, is a bolster. So this is basically just like the arm of a couch, or it's a big firm pillow that is generally rectangular. Most people just use a few pillows. I taught for years online restorative classes just using 2 or 3 pillows. It actually can be really nice to use pillows because this is quite high. And for a lot of people, a bolster this high can be uncomfortable depending on the posture. So pillows are actually great because they're a little bit thinner often, and you can choose whether you want like a half a layer, a full layer, or more. You can choose the density, I guess, of the pillow. If you need something that is kind of in this rectangular or cylindrical shape, you can roll up a duvet and then tie it up with a couple of belts or straps, and you can make kind of like a makeshift bolster. Also, like a sleeping bag, if you have the kind of sleeping bag that either rolls up or you push it into that like cylindrical shape, that can be perfect. You can also use your couch cushions. You might be lucky enough to have couch cushion this kind of shape. But yeah, just pillows are perfect for that. And I think that's about it. So yeah, listen to your body, look at your instructor and the ask, and just make sure whatever you're using can support the amount of weight that you intend to put on it. So that's, I feel a few times I've said common sense, and I don't want that to sound like condescending or anything, but just make sure that whatever you're using can support your weight and however much weight you're asking to use on that prop. You know, you got to kind of think outside of the box for some of these prop swaps, but once you've got it, you've got it. And I find with a lot of people that I teach online, they just know the drill by now. They know when I say bolster, for them it's 2 pillows. They know when I say blocks, for them it's 2 Tupperware containers. Those were the dogs. Just leaving. Yeah. Now, if you were going to invest in some yoga props, the one I find that is kind of the most expensive is a bolster. I do think that it's such a great investment if you are going to invest. You can use it for anything. You can put it under your knees. Sometimes I'll put my laptop on it and work on my laptop in bed or on the couch. And it's just nice to have that support, and it just makes me so excited to go and practice. This one I think is really beautiful, and whenever I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to use that. I want to practice. And the next one is blocks. Blocks tend to be much more affordable than a bolster. Depending on where you're at in the world, I think a block goes for anywhere from $5 to $15 here in Canada. They're worth it if you do feel like investing, but again, you don't have to. You can have a full and complete yoga practice without spending a dime. All right, so that's it. Thank you for being here with me. I hope that you keep practicing, and if you have any really great prop swaps that you like, write them in the comments, and I'll share it in my next video or post about prop swaps. Thanks so much. Peace.